So, welcome. Bedankt for coming. I wish I knew more Dutch. I don't. I'm originally from the United States. I came to Catalonia in 1987 and have been going back and forth between the United States and Barcelona ever since. My husband is from Catalonia. My children are bilingual and bicultural Catalan-American. This past May, I was chosen as the coordinator of the International Committee of the Catalan National Assembly, which is why I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about the work that the Assembly is doing to win Catalonia's independence. As I said, I would have liked to speak to you in Dutch, but I don't speak Dutch. But many, many people do, and the Dutch have something that Catalans don't have, that we wish we did have, which is a state that protects the Dutch language. And I wanted to speak in English, especially to reach the people among you who speak Dutch, and also so that you Catalans who live here in the Netherlands can maybe be inspired to share some of this information with the Dutch people around you, with whom you live. I want you to think about what it might be like if the Dutch didn't have a state to protect them, to look out for them. What would happen if they didn't if they had a state that spent so much money on infrastructure that was centralized, that discriminated against one region of its country, that insisted on spending, for example, budgeted for 2016 3.6 billion euros. I'm not sure if you say here 1,000 million euros, or as we in the United States say, 1 billion euros. It's a lot of money on radial high-speed trains, whereas that will serve very few people, and that all of the lines in Spain are deficitary. They don't make money. And instead, in Catalonia, which is one of the most industrialized, one of the most populated areas of Catalonia, they're spending 300 million, if we actually get all that money, on regional commuter trains that are used by millions of people every day. It doesn't make sense. You'd think that a country would support its different areas, its different regions, and Spain doesn't support Catalonia. I'd like you to think about what kind of investments are made. Catalonia makes up 16% of the population, but it produces 19% of Spain's GDP. It's responsible for 25% of its exports, and it gets about 11%. 11% isn't ever even executed. The money doesn't ever come. Like to think about centralized power. The fact that there's all these ministries in Madrid who are deciding what should happen in Catalonia. Catalonia tries to pass a law about, for example, poverty, energy poverty, that people should get help if they can't pay their electric bills. And the Spanish government says, no, you can't make that law. Sorry. Or the Catalan government says, we have these priorities. The Catalan business tends to be focused on small and medium business. Spanish businesses tend to be large, gas, electric, telephone companies. They're totally different priorities. What would it feel like if the state here was like that it had different priorities from what you had, and no matter what you did, your voice wasn't getting heard? This translates into things like the fact that Daimler-Benz recently said that they couldn't bring their business to Tarragona because there wasn't the infrastructure necessary in the port. This translates into things like the fact that that the Mediterranean corridor, which the Dutch helped pay for, Spain insists it should go through Madrid. Madrid's not on the Mediterranean corridor. It doesn't make sense. It's as if Spain wants to punish. It doesn't want to take advantage of, theoretically, its own cities, its major Mediterranean ports, Valencia and Barcelona. There's a stretch of them that are connected by a single track of rail. In 2015, the trains have to wait on one side until the other trains go through, and this is through the two major Mediterranean port cities. I want you to think about the fiscal deficit. the fact that something like, and there are different opinions about it, but 16 billion euros go off to Spain and never come back. And it's not that Catalans don't want to share. In fact, they're very willing to share. But it doesn't seem fair that when they're the fourth largest producing area in Spain, that after equalization they should be lowered to 10th. That means that regions who don't produce as much as Catalonia make out better, even though they don't produce as much. It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. So what? And there's also questions about Spain's re-centralization. It's encroaching on Catalan the competencies that are laid out in the Statute of Autonomy. Catalans say that they should be able to choose the kind of education that they want, the kind of culture that they want. And Spain continues to say, "Oops, actually, we want to choose. We want to decide that. We're not going to really follow what it says in your Statute of Autonomy." So what would you do? Well, the Catalans have chosen to answer in an incredibly democratic and peaceful way. And I want to tell you a little bit about the history of the Catalan independence movement, because I think it's one of the great stories of Europe right now. This is this amazing grassroots, democratic, peaceful, even happy movement that didn't come from the politicians. In fact, the politicians had repeatedly said, "We'll get there. This isn't the right moment. We'll do it sometime." And this started around 2005, 2006. The first demonstrations that really started to gather interest happened in the December of 2006 and the spring of 2007. And it was sort of surprising how many people came out. And these were demonstrations that were frustrations about Spain's meddling with the new Statute of Autonomy, the whittling down, the boasting about the whittling down of this new Statute of Autonomy, which that the Catalans wanted to forge in order to have a better relationship with Spain.